The best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. No one can stop me. I'm the best ever.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Let's get ready to
All step for man. One giant leap for mankind.
Welcome to the Walden Podcast, where we talk about entrepreneurship, the great outdoors, and most importantly, living a life with intention. My name is Marcus Keogh. Some of you may know me as Totally Upland. Today, I've got Richard Wong. He's a professional photographer. He does some awesome outdoor photography work. Glad to have you on, Rich.
Yeah, thanks, Marcus. Happy to be here.
So, professional photographer. I'm a big fan, by the way. I'm glad that you're here. Tell me, what is the world of a professional photographer really? What's your day-to-day look like?
Yeah, so I actually shoot food for a living. I have a studio here in Minneapolis, and I have a handful of great clients, and work with a lot of creative people that would include food styling, creative directors, art directors, designers, and then clients. And assistants and stuff like that. So I get to work with food, and I get to work with great people, and I get paid to do it. So it's a pretty it's a niche space, but really blessed to be able to do it.
Yeah, let's go. So you're like dressing the table and thinking about presentation for the food on the plate. Like, is that you, or who's responsible for that?
I mean, it's a big team. So if I'm working with all my clients are commercial clients, so they're coming with a plan that they've been planning for months, and we're shooting, for holiday right now. We're shooting stuff in July for Christmas and so forth. So it's planned. Art directors know what they want, and we get to be on set. Some clients don't have art directors, and so I get to play a little bit bigger role in choosing props and what it's going to look like. But for the most part, all that stuff is kind of laid out, and I have a prop room full of dishes and backgrounds and everything. And then the food stylists are the real ones that do the real magic with the food, and I light it. It gets printed or out on the web or up on a billboard or in a store. So
let's go. Weird things about food shooting before. Like,
yeah.
They don't use milk really. It's always whole cream that you pour in the cereal. Is that kind of stuff true? Or?
It's true. Milk, like if you look at especially like skim or even 1%, 2%, like it's kind of gray. It doesn't come out as white. Whole milk is probably better, but yeah, a lot of times, if we're shooting cereal for like a packaging, we use half and half. Some of those milk pours, those kind of the older style cereal packages, instead of an actual milk, they would make an acrylic, piece of acrylic, a mold basically to make it look like a milk pour, just so it's consistent. Nowadays, a lot of it's composited. A lot of it's just made by a computer.
Yeah, okay. I do want to talk about post-production here in a minute. Definitely do that. I'm so curious to know kind of what the play is there. I'm doing Yelp reviews, okay, and I've got your typical iPhone camera.
Yeah.
What are two things that I can take away from you when I go to shoot food for my food reviews?
For your food reviews that you're going to shoot,
I'm on Yelp, and
you're going to use your phone. I think the number one thing that would help is using one light source. So like a lot of times if you're in a restaurant, you might get your ambient light, which is coming from tungsten or fluorescent, and then you have your window, which is natural light, and mixing those is it's going to make it look bad. So
really?
if you can narrow it down to natural light, it's going to be their most beautiful, because it's going to give direction. Usually that tungsten and fluorescence just straight down, and then it's hard shadows. It's a hard light, but the sunlight's going to give you a directional feel. So it's giving you a sense of place, a sense of time, where light bulbs from the ceiling is just going to be like you are in a restaurant. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Natural lighting. So get a window seat.
Get a window seat. Yep. Try to avoid mixing the light. So like if you can like go at a time where maybe they don't have lights on. Maybe it's a morning coffee shop and they don't have lights.
There we go.
Just the natural light.
Plan the trip.
Yep.
And that's what good photography really requires is serious forethought. I mean, how often are you thinking about props or setting, or are you setting schedules for golden hour? I mean, are you always thinking like that?
Yeah, 100% of my stuff, commercial photography, is artificial light. So it's using they're called strobes. So it's not a continuous light; it's a flash of light. Basically, some people call it flash, but I'm using artificial to make it look natural, make it look like sunlight. So because I need to have the control, I can't wait on the light.
Is that a light cover that we're talking about? Really? Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll use different modifiers to make the light have quality to it. So if you want like a softer light, you're going to shoot through a diffusion material that's going to really soften the light. If you want a harder light, you can use no diffusion, or you can bring the light closer to the diffusion material, and that's going to give you a punchier, more contrast light. So having all those in my toolbox, when a client says, we want this cup of coffee shot and in the morning light, then I just recreate it so we don't have to like schedule the shoot at 6:30 a.m. Does that make sense?
Yes, most definitely. So myself, and I'm sure plenty of listeners here, I've bought the $20 LED kind of flat panel lights. Yep. So tell me, where is your position on LED? They're so hard, really. They're so bright. Like, is that what I want?
There are different, I want to say like good and bad between, but I mean like a lot of videographers are using LED. Some of them are panels, some are tubes. Some of them are like a hot light like they use in the film industry. So like, there's different variations of them, and they all give a different look.
Sure.
So it's
let me ask you this, because I hadn't really thought about it, but in the industry, are you guys like professional guitarists? Like you all have your specific pedal board, and you're like, yeah, I can't really tell you what I'm using on the old fuzz. I'm not using a fuzz face. That's all I can tell you. Is that how it is? I mean, get your own vibe. I mean, that's what you want, right?
Yeah. I mean, clients are gonna hire you based on your look, right? Like they want. They might see you on Instagram and be like, oh man, I like this guy's vibe. Like I'm gonna hire him because he can shoot like this. But for the most part, there's no secret. It's like, everything is out there. It's just how people use it.
Sure. Yeah, most definitely. I mean, let me ask you, what do you think about the camera phone these days?
The camera phone?
Yeah, your iPhone. I mean, what do you think? It separates the pros from non-pros when you have the gear, obviously, but
yep. But I
was like me. So sorry about this. Amateur hours like me, though, we're using the iPhone. Is there tricks to this? Do you still use it even as a pro, or where are you with it?
I don't use it. There have been times when a client wanted like a quick video of the set that's already set up, and I just didn't have time to change over to a suitable camera to shoot video. And a lot of the social stuff and the reels that clients need, like the iPhone or any of the high-end camera phones, are going to do the job for what they need. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not going to replace. I think AI will replace photographers before the camera phone will.
I think the AI, and I just said this the other day, but where's that remastering? Like you always are getting the new iPhone or Android or whatever you're on, so you can race on the social, but that's what they're made for, right?
Yeah.
But remastering your own content to be able to make it usable again, like I think that's the real future.
Yeah.
It's like, how do I bump to 8K when you guys are all on it?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't dug into AI any of my stuff yet, but I probably need to do some digging for sure. I mean, it's here.
Right. Right. I have a theory about artificial intelligence, but it's probably a little too conspiracy-y, you know? So, so Rich, are you telling me, I didn't know this the whole time. You're telling me that you're a food photographer. I'm thinking you're an outdoor photographer for sure.
Yeah.
Just how we've been connected.
Yeah.
Is that passion, or is that
It is.
exit, or what are we really talking about here?
I've talked about this in other podcasts before, but like the Whisk Me Nord Instagram handle kind of was spawned out of a family cabin that we bought 5 or 6 years ago, and I was basically just taking pictures of like cabin life up northern Wisconsin, and I was really just trying to stay inspired to take pictures outside of the studio. So there's my little pocket in the studio where I'm shooting artificial light and I can control everything. And then there's the outdoor space where you have to oftentimes rely. You can shoot artificial light outside too, but when you have to rely on sunlight, that's like a challenge for me. It's different. There's so many different factors. You gotta have gear you're schlepping around, and so that feed Whisk Me Nord kind of was that outlet for me.
Yeah.
And it quickly kind of morphed into the upland space. It was definitely not as heavy in the uplands.
How did that happen?
I think had you followed me since Hunter was around, the three-legged Vizsla?
I've seen pictures of Hunter.
Yeah. So I mean, I think he got pretty popular, and I could see like the content. you could see like there was a lot of non-dog pictures before, and there was some fishing stuff, and there was some hunting. But like once, it was an unfortunate event, obviously. But when you're trying to engage people and they're more engaged in the dog stuff, and especially a dog with 3 legs that's still hunting,
sure,
it got pushed in that way, and I'm happy for it.
It's a dog group. The friggin' Highlanders are dog people. That's the reality.
Yeah. If I threw a poll out there, like, what are you here for? I'm sure people would be like, the dogs.
They love, dog people for sure. So, were you an upland hunter before, or you were already doing it?
Yeah, I was already hunting. Definitely the years that he had after his amputation, like I hunted a lot just because I knew like his time was coming. And so I hunted a lot more in the last 2 years than I did in prior years. But
how many hey misters do you get? Like, hey, bring your camera. Why don't you come hunt these birds with us? You are, right?
Yeah.
I bet.
I love people bringing a camera with them.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So
you're getting to hunt as much as you really want to, probably.
I do. I get to hunt quite a bit. I mean, a benefit of owning your company, and then having a family, like I do a lot of the hunting on the weekdays, so I'm not interfering with family time, and it's kind of a win-win.
Nice. Are you doing public land?
Pretty much 100% public land. I hunted this last year with Cody at Big Creek in Iowa, and he had a bunch of private land. Iowa doesn't have a ton of public, so we did hit one parcel, and I got one bird, but a lot of public.
Yeah, I understand. That's a good. Weekdays are good for public land too. That's a win-win, really.
Yep.
So let's talk about outdoors to challenge yourself. Going outdoors and working with natural lighting to challenge yourself. Let's talk about mastering a discipline. Like that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like you own the company, you're a professional photographer, you're chasing this forever. You're going to be a master if you're not already, right?
Yeah.
And so where is your head at on that? Are you constantly trying to set up drills to practice and shoot, or?
Not necessarily. The thing with commercial photography, at least in my experience, is like lighting. The style always changes. You look at some of the leading kind of editorial magazines like Food and Wine or Donna Hay, and they all have their different styles. So being able to, I don't want to copy them, but being able to have the ability to emulate that style is important to me, because when my client says we're shooting this for a campaign and I want it to look like this, and they send me a bunch of tears from Donna Hay, then I'm going to want to know how to shoot that way. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So in some ways, we call it portfolio testing. So it'd be me and a stylist, and we'd be sitting down and talking about some testing we want to do. So it basically would be just working on a portfolio, challenging yourself to shoot outside of what you're good at already, and learning new things.
Yeah. Constantly challenging yourself, constantly setting up drills. I mean, you're a pro.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
difference between an amateur and a pro, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's similar to what we talked about before. Like, I'm comfortable sitting in my cozy studio where I can control everything, and going outside in the sunlight, it's harder for me. Like, it's different. I mean, it's not impossible, obviously.
Yes.
But there's a challenge there, because your light is always constantly changing. And
But if I looked at this photo, I'd probably think that looks freaking phenomenal. And you're going, this is not my best work, really.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I'm always my toughest critic.
I'm sure that's the case, because if I look at it as an amateur, I probably can't even tell, really. You
Sure.
know?
Yep.
Tell me, I have a theory, okay? And maybe you have the answer to it, but my theory is you may see a job posting for National Geographic on their website saying they're hiring somebody that'll take photos of a Siberian tiger, but they're not actually hiring for that. It's whomever is willing to buy the plane ticket there and go take photos of them. Like, that's the one who gets the job, right?
Maybe.
Do you think that's the case, or what is there really in corporate America for photographers as like yourself? Does that even exist, really?
Like a National Geographic photographer?
I'm sure they do have people that do it.
Yeah. I mean, they have staff. I believe they have staff photographers.
How often do you think they're just buying photos from people that are out doing it? Not?
I mean, now probably a lot.
Right.
Probably a lot. Yeah. Nowadays.
And why do you say that? You have people moving around more? Is it globalization, or is it?
I mean, I think it's cheaper. I mean, the technology now with photography. I mean, I don't want to say that anyone can take a picture, but like, it's not rocket science. You know what I mean?
Well, the separation between, it's not much. It's kind of hard when you're shopping for a professional camera, and you're sitting there looking at your iPhone and you're going, well, it's like, if I'm gonna upgrade, I need to upgrade real big. I need to buy the best camera possible, because it's only marginally different between this one and your entry level professional camera.
Sure.
And that's a tough one, really.
Yep.
But people still aren't buying cameras as much, do you think?
Yeah, I think people are.
More people are becoming photographers day in, day out. Is that what you're?
Yeah.
It's a growing industry.
Oh yeah.
What do you know as far as kind of availability? Like, if someone to go, I'm going to do it. They take pretty good photos. Clients are ready for them right now, you think, or?
Man, it's hard to say. I mean, it ebbs and flows, even in my business.
Sure.
I mean, food is such a niche space. But here's the thing. Clients are always going to pinch pennies.
Sure.
There are going to be Marcuses out there that have a camera and can take pictures that's good enough for that client.
I see.
And so, when I started in and I'm not trying to downplay anyone here. When I started in commercial photography, it was kind of the beginning of the real explosion of food bloggers, and a ton of them have a ton of talent. Some of them don't, but a lot of them are very talented photographers now and accomplished, and they changed the industry. Not just dollars wise, but even the look.
It raised consumer expectation. Really,
yeah.
Is that it? It's even people that are just doom scrolling.
Sure.
They're being competitive about it, and thus it's all about how pretty you can make the food look. Really, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but I mean, they even created a. Hang on, the dogs.
I never even thought about that, Rich.
Yeah, they created a look that clients wanted, and so you had a handful of commercial photographers that needed to learn a different style, and it was challenging for some folks. Some of the older guys just didn't want to do it, and they kind of had to move on. So it's an interesting industry.
So I'm interested to hear your opinion on this, but as far as you're concerned, are we content deficient?
No, I don't think so.
You don't. So you think there's so much content going on?
Yeah.
Do you say that's true just across the board, or are there niches where they're deficient?
I don't know.
Hard to say.
If
right?
there is, I haven't been scrolling.
I understand. Yeah. You're busy behind the camera. Really, you don't have time to doom scroll.
Yeah,
that's the way to be. Really. So you named some publications, and I'm 30, man, and I'm such a millennial. I've just been fried by the computer, I think. So I don't hold magazines very often. But is that really the final frontier for a photographer? Like getting in a magazine is tight, really. You don't feel
I mean, I've had work published in magazines, cookbooks.
Cool.
The editorial. There are a lot of photographers that shoot food that that's their lane. Like that's what they focus on. And then there's people that focus more on commercial side. So I mean, I've done kind of everything, and I enjoy both. The editorial stuff, it's a good break from shooting commercial stuff, because this commercial stuff has a little bit more advertising feel. It's you might be shooting stuff on white where they're outlining it and dropping it in a layout. So there's definitely interest to both, but I never feel like, oh, I've made it when something happens in a magazine.
Oh, I understand.
Does that make sense?
That's good.
Yeah,
you're just humble, really.
Yeah, I mean, I try to be.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
So tell me this: are you using? I'm guessing it's digital. You said Fuji, right? You got a digital camera.
Yeah.
Are you using the screen, or are you behind, looking through it all the time?
Yeah. So I'm tethered to a computer. So it's a software called Capture One. It's no secret, and it basically previews all my images, and then it captures raw, and then it puts it in a folder, and then I'm trying to get the dog to get back to his place here. Hang on. Hey, Trigger, park it. What? And so it captures all the raws. Trigger.
Good.
I say
Trigger.
Park it is my place word.
Oh,
place. Cute.
Okay. Yeah, I understand.
Hey, now he's being mouthy and he's trying to chew on my hand. Park it. Yeah. Sorry. And so captures the raws, and then I can export images and basically process them as TIFFs.
So tell
So I
me,
get to see everything on the screen. We can put layouts that designers already have designed, like overlaid over top of the image, so like we can shoot it the exact composition that we need to.
yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Tell me about innovation in the software game, in the post game. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how long it's been since you started. You look like a young guy, but you could be doing this for maybe 20 years. I don't know.
Yeah, so I started Sugar Parking. You're interrupting the podcast.
He's a good boy.
Yeah. Yeah, good boy sometimes. Park it. Yeah. So I started late, based on when I graduated from undergrad. So I did some business stuff before I went back to school and studied photography. So I've been shooting since about 2008. And in school, we were still shooting film, and it was transitioning over to digital. Then when I started shooting commercial, it's always been digital.
Dang.
Yeah.
So how often are you going? No, that take will work just fine because I know the solve for this in post. Like, no, this one's a wrap. Or are you always going like, no, we got to get it?
We're typically, so when I use Photoshop, the biggest thing that I'm using it for, it could change. So like, there's differences. So if I'm shooting like just a steak, say I'm shooting a steak with a salad,
okay,
I'm going to take one exposure. And back in the day, we used to do what they call bracketing. So you're taking a normal exposure, you're going to take a dark exposure, and you're going to take a light exposure. And you take those exposures by increasing the light output and decreasing the light output. Then you have your normal exposure. And so what you're doing is, it's basically like an antiquated HD high dynamic range, right? So you're getting almost everything within spec that you want, right?
So you can color grade it in post. Is that it?
Yeah. And then you layer those files in post, and you can mask it off. So then you can paint the dark areas you want dark.
Clever.
Or the light areas that you want darker, and then the dark areas you want lighter. And then you're making basically exactly what you want. Okay. So that was how I used to do it. Now the software, this is my experience, the software has come along so much that I can take a normal exposure where I have all of the pixels that I need. So if I shoot one that's too bright, like if there's not going to be any pixels, like it's blown out, I can't fix that as well as I want to in post. So I'm making sure that my whites have pixels and my blacks aren't too black, they're not crushed. And so now in that software I'm talking about, I shoot my normal, and then I just process out a light and I process out a dark, just using sliders.
Interesting. And so then you have your high dynamic range still.
Yep. And then same thing, drop that in Photoshop, and I have layers painting what I want. Now, if I'm shooting like, say, a stack of pancakes, and my client wants a nice pool of syrup on the top, and they want a specific size.
I love that commercial, by the way.
Yeah, specific size puddle of syrup on the bottom, and they want syrup cascading down the stack. Sure. That could be like 10 exposures that I'm painting in every specific drizzle, every specific size pool of syrup, and so that's the kind of stuff that's fun to play around with.
Well, yeah, it's a great idea. You got me thinking just to try it,
Sure.
Because I hadn't even thought about. I know you can do it in post, and that's what your recommendation would be. But I had never even thought about trying it with the camera and seeing what that does to it. That's a hack, really. Let's talk about hacking. So you do how many hours for a typical session versus how many hours you'll be on the computer after you finish it? Which one is more time consuming really for you these days?
On set, 100%.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Just shooting on set is much more time. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So and what does that really look like? It's a full day's work, 8 hours of shooting or what?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. If I'm shooting packaging like a bowl of cereal, we'll need one shot, and it'll usually take a whole day. I mean, I'll take hundreds of shots, but it's a painstakingly, everyone's looking at one bowl, and the food stylist is moving a piece at a time until our director is like, "That's perfect." So
how many people on set in this kind of scenario?
I mean, there's usually 2 people on set with maybe 3 with an art director looking behind my shoulder. But there could be clients like I've had dozens of people in the studio at one time.
Yeah.
So it could be, sometimes it's too many eyes. But for the most part, these clients that I'm working with, we work pretty well together. And even if it's 12 people, we can get stuff done.
Yeah, let's go. So a lot of food. I mean, there's a lot of food that needs pictures taken of it or videos taken of it these days. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing, people are always going to eat food.
Yeah. And so are we talking, like, how am I seeing it as a consumer? Where is it getting played these days? Am I getting hit with it on YouTube or?
Yep, some YouTube. You're going to see it on TV, out of home, like billboard, in store, social, a lot of web.
Yeah. Yeah, and you probably can't tell us any names, but syrup brands, though?
No syrup brands.
No syrup brands. Okay, so the waffle then, or pancake brand. It's one of those. Like, can I get it at the grocery store? I guess that's what I want to know.
Nope, you got to make it.
Really?
Make the pancakes.
Okay, got it. So, all right, I want to dig in a little bit more into post-production, though. So you're saying 8-hour day or 10-hour day, 12-hour day, whatever it takes, however long it takes to get all the shots you need of the drizzling syrup.
Yep.
What does post really look like for you? Do you have people these days? Are you breaking it up?
Sometimes I have people, but for the most part, I'm not a control freak, but I like having control of my own.
Your visual is your brand, literally,
Yep.
Yeah.
So if the client's not happy, then that's on me. And I'm like, I can't be like, "Oh, Bob did that, so let me fix it for you." I'd have to say, "Oh, I screwed up, let me take care of it." So I'd rather just have control of it and do it myself.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. I usually get it all done at the studio before I come home, so I don't bring any homework or work home.
Let's go. So you can hit it all. You can get it all done in a day, really.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's how you get to go upland hunting on weekdays, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
That's how you pull it off, really.
Yep.
He's trying to tell you. Tight. Like that's pretty slick. And we're back. Welcome back to the Walden Podcast. My name is Marcus Keogh. Some of you may know me as Totally Upland, and I've got Richard Wong here picking back up. So tell me, we're just getting started on, like, your visual is your brand, really. Tell me, how hard is it for you to stay in, like, do you worry about getting trapped in the lane, really? It sounds like you're out trying new things all the time. Do you ever find yourself riding a wave and being like, "Oh, I just really like this right now"? And tell me what that's like, really.
Yeah, I really, really enjoy the food photography piece. I really like, when I got out of school, I thought I wanted to shoot like executive portraiture. I thought that was kind of the avenue I was going to go because I like people, and I quickly realized, like, man, I don't like directing people in front of a camera, but I do like directing a team behind the camera. And food. I mean, everyone likes food, so the food photography for me is like my lane. I'm in it. I'm here to stay. The outdoor space just kind of fell in my lap, and I'm enjoying whatever comes my way. I'm definitely not pushing to get business in that regard, but like, I love anything that comes my way. So, yeah.
So, food, do they feed you? Like, you always have food on set, too.
There's always food. Some of it, like, you don't want it because it's been sitting out on set for a long time. But there's always food available. A lot of times it is still edible if it's like we're shooting like a recipe that we're shooting like in a pot. It's not being handled the whole time. And then, I mean, there are benefits after, of course, is there's a lot of groceries that may not have been used, and we either take it home or we donate it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So of the, like you said, natural lighting, I'm practicing with the sun. I'm practicing letting the sun give me problems. What are your other top two, really? If you had to put three in that you're just like, these are the ones I'm working on right now, what would you say that is?
That I'm working on?
Yeah. You know, you said natural lighting is one that I want to practice because
Sure.
Do you have a handful of those right now, or is that like the final frontier, really?
No, I mean, you've seen my stuff on Instagram. I mean, I think it's
Yeah, you're phenomenal.
there. I think it's, yeah, I mean, I appreciate
You're
that.
good.
Man,
You're
I
super.
think pushing myself to learn what capabilities there are with AI that I can incorporate without taking my job away is one piece. I mean, technology for sure. The thing with photography that I found, like I'm using a camera a few cameras that, I mean, they're 15 years old and they're doing the job. I mean,
Let's go.
they're great cameras, and I could easily upgrade. But I don't know that my clients would know the difference. My cameras right now have huge sensors and they're creating beautiful files. And I light up the light that I'm lighting with them. It's going to be the same on a new sensor. Just, how I'm taking them. So
Wow.
I'd love to say
So you're saying instead of becoming interdisciplinary with all the hardware, it's like just win post. Is that what you're really saying?
yeah.
Unbelievable. I've been telling people for so long, 8 years, I'm like, everything is going online. You realize, like, it's all going to be on the computer. That's the end.
Sure.
It's got to be. But I didn't know it was like that, though, really. Tell me about, like you said, Photoshop. What was your other one you said? It was for videography, right?
The software?
Yes.
The software, the other one I use is Capture One. So that's the one that's just capturing the image, capturing the raw image, and processing all the TIFF.
Yeah. So growing up, definitely not in junior high. I think like our BCIS class or something was teaching Photoshop.
Mhm.
And at the time, this would have been 2007. They'd be like, "This is the master. Like, this is the final frontier. This is for pros." Is that still the case these days too? Is Photoshop still the undisputed?
Yeah, 100%. Some people will use so Lightroom is a software that's made by Adobe. It's the same company. You can shoot tethered with Lightroom. That's the tethering software that I use is called Capture One. But you can tether with Lightroom, and then you can do almost the same thing with Lightroom as you can do with Photoshop, but just a little bit less involved.
Yeah. What about your hardware? MacBook? Are you on a what do you use?
Yep, I'm still using IMAX, 27-inch IMAX.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
I love those. Those are the big, beautiful desktop ones.
Yep.
Yeah, let's go.
Yep.
Okay, and it seems good for media, really. Apple. Do you think that's the case? Is it the answer as far as media is concerned, or no?
Yeah.
Really, it's for creatives, you'd say.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
I mean, I know some videographers that they built their own PC just because they can make it super powerful for editing. Now with everyone wants 4K,
Right.
8K. If they just need to have super powerful machines to be able to work with that.
So much data is the reality.
So much.
So
Yeah, that's
many
great.
gigabytes of videography. So
Yep.
you're just a full blown data center as well. Tell me, how many different clouds do you have?
I use drives, which just makes me feel safer.
Some flash drives. So are you?
No, like a big
external hard drives.
external hard drive. Yeah, the Lacey's.
Okay. So
I have, like,
on-prem. You're an on-prem data center.
Yeah.
So tell me, what is your position on this? I mean, you're talking about corporate espionage. Is that what we're really talking about? That's what we're talking about, really.
I just like them. I just feel like they're safer storage.
Safer for whom though? Your clients or for the real game? Like you got the real game on prem, really.
Yeah. I mean, safer. I think it just makes me feel better. But I deliver files with like Dropbox, so they're in Dropbox all the time.
Okay, so when I think about your smaller medias, really, your daily medias, I should say, just the very content hungry ones.
Yep.
How many years ahead are you?
Not that far.
Really?
Maybe like half a year.
But you're calculating that at a very high standard, though. If you're an amateur like me, everything gets posted.
Everything's posted. Everything's good. Oh, that's good.
That's all I have. Really.
6 years. You're like 6
day
years.
by day, you know. Getting ahead. Where are you at on that? Really? I mean, that's what your clients want, right? Like, ideally, they don't want to have to worry about their commercial. They need to have their commercial already decided.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Do you have a sense for how far ahead they want to be? What their goal really is?
Yeah. Not. I don't know their schedules, but I mean, we're shooting 6 months in advance from when their campaigns start, at least.
And do they beta test them? They A/B test them? They do all that before? Do they do that or no? No idea.
They do all sorts of stuff that I don't know they're doing.
So you don't see the ad and go, "Oh, I remember doing this one." Like, surely you do, right? You're like, "Hey, we did that. We did that one."
Yep.
Is it still exciting?
Yeah, I'll see stuff that I shot 10, 15 years ago still out there getting rehashed and reused, and
yeah,
for sure.
So you have a look at it and go, "Oh, I feel like I know this guy." What would you tell you 15 years ago?
Oh, that's a good question.
Like, if you could sit down with that photographer.
Man, I don't know. I mean, if I could say anything to anyone out there thinking about starting their own business? If you're thinking about it, just do it. Do it earlier.
Just go for it.
Yeah, just go for it. Yeah.
So did you said you worked in the kind of the business world first before you exited corporate America? And
yep, I was in retail for a long time, and then I ended up at Target as an analyst for a year, and it's all numbers, all finance, all projections. The goal was to become a buyer, and it just wasn't panning out for me.
Yeah.
So I quit. Went back to school to study photography, and out of school, started assisting in the General Mills photo studios. So we have General Mills here in town, and so it's a great place to start. And I kind of lost track of what your actual question is.
What would you tell you 15 years ago?
Oh, well, it would have been to start your own. Sure,
Start your business. Just go for it. Really. Yep. You're telling me your story. I'm glad that you did. I'm curious to know today, if you're an amateur, is school the recommendation, or would you tell them to go to YouTube University?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I went to a school that was heavy on the fine arts side, and I didn't learn a lot of. I felt like I didn't have a lot of technical experience. And in hindsight, maybe you should have went to a technical school. And so when I started assisting at General Mills, I was getting a ton of mentorship. People were pouring into me because they knew I wanted to be a photographer. Some people they assist for their whole life, but I wanted to shoot. And I learned a ton on the job.
Yeah.
And so I guess it depends. Like, I spent a lot of money getting my post-baccalaureate photography. But it really, what I noticed, so I did my undergrad in business, and I don't want to say I sloughed my way through, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with that when I was there.
Yeah.
And I did what I needed to do to get my degree.
Yeah, I understand.
And that was also a great experience. But when I went back, I went 6-7 years in corporate America. Then when I went back to school, I was back with undergrad students, so I was much older than them. But man, to see their passion for, because they knew when you're in that school, you know exactly what you want to do.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
cool.
I was motivated by them because they were motivated themselves and they worked hard, and it was competitive. It was like, man, if I don't work my tail off,
There's a bunch of people that want to do this.
Your portfolio reviews in front of everyone. So from that perspective, it was great because it pushed me. So in my personality, I needed that.
Yeah.
But today, like if someone wanted to go and learn food photography, you could go to YouTube, and I have no.
And you're on there teaching.
If there was someone that was self motivated to do it, like I said, it's not. There's no rocket science.
So have you considered the influencer route on putting the millennials on game, really? To talk to the 30-year-olds? Be meta, sit there filming yourself?
Not going to do it.
That is the play, though, right?
Yeah.
You won't do it.
I won't do it. If anyone wants help.
You want to keep... If it's a niche, it needs to stay that way. Is that the reality?
If anyone needs tips, I'm an open book. I'm happy to help. And I've helped quite a few people just through Instagram that were asking and looking for suggestions. You're helpless.
True. I know. That's exactly where I'm at, really. But still trying, just failing forward is the reality.
Yep.
So no chance, really. No chance you'll do the double camera.
I don't think so. No.
Think
about how much editing that work is.
It's the Gary V, really.
A ton of work.
Well, I think maybe you pay for that though. Like,
if I
just hire a friend and be like, "Hey, I need you to help film me while I film this," and then you just. I don't know if you overdub it. If you overdub it, then you're sucked back in. It's got to, But you got the machine already in place. Apparently, one day, baby, we'll take the photos and have it edited.
Maybe it'll be my right.
Let's go. Another one. There's so many people doing it. I think right now there's people doing it. They don't even have business one figured out exactly, but just in case it hits.
Yeah,
that's the reality of the situation we're living in. I think.
Yeah.
How do you unplug? The media, being on the computer, being behind the camera all the time, getting these screens, dopamine, and all of that. How do you deal?
I do obviously a lot of hunting. I do a lot of fishing, and I love training. Love training trigger.
So getting outdoors, getting out in nature.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that's what this podcast is really all about. Let's talk about that passion. And is it a prescription, really? Would you say?
Yeah. Leah, my wife, this week, she could tell I was getting a little stressed. She's like, "Man, I can't wait till hunting season comes," because I'm definitely a more balanced person when I'm hunting. 100%. You get it. Like right now, we got less than 2 months. We're all on edge. But once September comes, everyone cools down a little bit, I think.
Yes. I moved to Montana recently, actually, from Texas. So I'm out all the time, actually. I'm retired as far as I'm concerned. I just have to figure out how to get the rent paid. And then everything else, I'm outside all the time.
Yeah.
So unplugging, that's the way to do it. Tell me about training trigger.
Yeah. So he's my second dog, and it was something that in this situation. I had the time, so I wanted to do it on my own. And so
DIY.
I'm taking bits and pieces of things that I like and putting them to work.
Yeah, let's go. So, do your clients keep you on retainer, or how do you typically set that up?
No, I'm paid by project. Some of them I work with so much that they just know what to expect, and I just send an invoice. Others, I'm shooting proposals.
Okay, so
Yep.
contract work. Is
Yep.
is there a hub for people looking for contract work? Is there a good place to go for that, or is it more recommend pounding the pavement and going and handing out business cards? I mean, if you were a young guy getting started, how would you do it?
A lot of my business, and this is when Instagram was easy to use. A lot of my business, not a lot, a couple of my big clients came through Instagram. Just they saw my work, and they hired me, and worked with them for a long time. But so, I mean, a lot of it is I don't use any services, or I don't have any
Yeah.
agents.
So you're saying Instagram's a portfolio, really? It's a
For
resume.
sure, it was. I think it'd be harder today. I think it's the algorithm is messed with that. But back when it was new, it was definitely a vehicle.
Yeah, and photos are getting better in post. Post is getting easier to do, maybe,
Yep.
and so content is just getting better.
Yeah.
So is it an arms race, really? Had you not said it was in post, my guess would have been it's all about the camera, really.
I mean, for me, it's both.
Yeah.
There are people that can do can take the photo with very minimal post production, and there are people that can take a photo that's okay and do post production that makes it look incredible.
Yeah.
So it's all a balance.
Yeah. What do you think about your personal eye in post?
Yeah.
I guess that's how you end up having a vibe
Yeah.
in the first place. Maybe you're going off of what makes you, what looks right to you, what makes you feel good. You're like, yeah, that looks tight.
Right. Yeah.
And you're putting it out there, and you're finding birds of a feather. Really,
Sure.
Is that what you'd say it is?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me in camera, what I can do. What I can do with the camera, or what you might say with the camera, is it's the lighting, because that's, in my opinion, that's like 75% of how the image is gonna look. So when I'm shooting tethered, the client already sees the quality of light and the composition. And the post production in a lot of this stuff is just cloning out things that they don't want. But then when you get down to like talked about shooting the pancake, then there's different. I mean, you can take it as far as you want. You can take it as far as you want. Food photography is unique because, like, you want it to look. You want it to look natural. You want the light to look natural, and B, like, you don't want the food to look fake necessarily. Like, I could do it. Like, I could make everything look super smooth and like totally fake. But you also want the consumer to look at it and be like, "Oh, that looks really good. I want to eat it." Not just
because sometimes it's not real too, right?
Right.
You're dealing with something that's not even real. It's like, how do you make it look real?
Right.
That's a challenge. I could see why that would be fun.
Oh yeah.
Like, you're always trying to tee things up. I would say.
Yeah.
What as a photographer that people are looking at, me, for instance, who are you looking at?
No one in particular, really. I think maybe when I was, when I was in school with a lot of fine art photographers, there's no like specific food photographer that I'm just like, oh man, I don't want to.
Oh yeah, I understand. I just mean generally speaking, our heroes have heroes typically. I'm curious to know who that might be.
Man, it's not a photographer. I can tell you that.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, my dad, he's passed away 13 years ago, but my dad was a big influence on me. Super humble man. He was a surgeon. Got to the top of his career and his group, but just always had kind of a servant heart. And it was just a gentle surgeon. Someone that, like, when talking to his colleagues after he passed. A lot of people would talk about like how, if they were going to join him for residency or something, like they just always heard of his reputation, but they couldn't believe it because like all the surgeons they worked with were just kind of didn't have that same reputation.
Yeah.
But then when they met him, he's just a quiet leader. So he's
that's
definitely
uncommon for surgeons, by the way.
Yes,
surgeons are
very uncommon. I've met other surgeons, and some of them are very cocky, which bodes well.
Love that. I kind of
but
need you to assure me that you're good at your job.
Right? Yes, exactly. That like if you like, especially if it's a family member and you meet these surgeons, like
I need the most arrogant one.
You want them to have the confidence to be able to do the procedure that they're doing. So some of it is good. But my dad was a master surgeon, and but he was just a super calm,
humble guy,
person. So
that is cool.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good man.
Yeah.
Tell me, I had one for you, Rich. Give me 1 second. Let me think.
Let me ask you, what's the Walden pod? Is it a play on Thoreau or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's Henry David Thoreau. It's transcendentalism at its finest.
Because it's kind of like the only reason why I thought of it was because Walden Pond, and so you got the Walden Podcast, which is a little bit a play on words to me.
I didn't know about them until I posted the first episode on YouTube, and then I saw it, and I'm like, oh no. Is this gonna be a problem? Hopefully, this is not a problem, because I don't want to take them down, really. So I'm just gonna keep it quiet.
Yeah,
it's different-ish. I hope it's not a problem. Now they know. I'll go ahead and just leave this in. Now they know I didn't do it on purpose. There
you go.
So the apology has been made. Wow, Rich, I just had one for you. Really?
You don't write these questions down? You have them all in your head?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm trying to have a real conversation with you. Is my, if I can get you to open up and just have a real conversation, I think that's what people want. If they can get an education while they're at it, even better. Let's step away from the technical photography stuff and let's just talk about the business itself. What can you tell me about the industry? Are photographers hella competitive with one another? Like, how do you said you got a team around you early. You had a lot of people pouring into you when they found out what you wanted to do. Would you say that's how the industry is? I mean, just tell me as
I think you're gonna see a little bit of both. When I was at that studio, there were 3 staff photographers and then more than a handful of contractors, and all of them were willing to work with me. Now, most of those, it was a unique studio because a lot of those folks didn't have studios. They just came to General Mills and they shot, and they were on contract, and then they went home. And so, it was unique because no one was really competing with anyone. They were all just kind of there for the same purpose. Now that studio's gone away. And some people opened other studios. None of us are like, at least that I know of, no one's like, like butting heads, so to speak. but I would say, in town, there's a handful of corporations that use certain photographers, and they're, myself included. I would love to shoot for some of those corporations. So it is competitive. Personally, I'm working with some folks that I'm trying to help break in. And I just it's just kind of like training trigger. I just enjoy teaching people. I enjoy bringing up the next generation. So I think it's hard because I think there are some folks in town that probably wouldn't be as nurturing. But I think there still are some folks out there that are ready to help the next person.
Yeah. And for anyone watching, what that really means is don't take no for an answer. Keep looking, keep asking. Somebody is gonna throw you the life raft eventually.
Oh yeah. And I've met some of those folks that are have asked, like, I'll get a DM on Instagram like, hey, I love your work. Can I meet with you sometime? And like, if I'm super busy, like, I'll be honest, like, hey, like, reach back out to me. Not during hunting season. And let's get together. And so, like, it's like, you're gonna find people in our industry that, like, there's gonna be busier times than there's gonna be some slow times. And even if they're like, yeah, I'm super busy, but I will meet, they typically are being honest. Like, just give them time, but just stay on their radar.
Yeah. So do you pound the pavement pretty heavily during bird season?
For birds?
Yeah, you run around. So what's on the list this year? Any good ones?
For hunting?
Oh yeah.
Heading west to Montana, September, and then probably be mainly running around home and up at the cabin for rough grouse and woodcock. We'll
In the
probably
North
filter-
Woods.
What's that?
This is the North
North
Fork,
Woods.
right?
Yeah.
North Woods.
North Woods. And then probably filter in a couple pheasant hunts around home just to fill in the cracks. There was some talk about heading down to Kansas late season for bobs. Those are probably the big ones. But yeah, late season pheasants around here, probably maybe an Iowa hunt. We'll see.
I think pop up here too when you come to Montana, maybe on the back half of the trip. There's supposed to be an upland slam around here, close by. Three different kinds of grouse. So the invite's been made. I'll go find them and
yeah, you go scout.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've never seen a blue. I don't think I've ever seen a blue in my life.
Yeah, so I'm real blurry on these grouse names. So blue is also a dusky grouse, but I think a dusky is also a city grouse. And here in Montana, they've got Franklin's grouse, I believe, which is yeah. They're the only ones that call them that.
Okay.
And so I can't figure. I don't know which one it is really. They're supposed to have roughies, sharpies, sooty, and Franklin's. Which Franklin's maybe it might be a roughie. You'll have to Google it.
I'll have to Google it.
It's an interesting one. I just encountered it. Somebody said it the other day. I'm like, is this something else? They're the only ones. I had to Google it.
Interesting.
So let's do it. I'm down.
Yeah.
Just let me know if you want to.
And sage. I need a sage grouse.
Yes. I'd be down to do that one too. I did that one last year. Wyoming's the place to do that one. The Basin Step.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's crazy because you look around and you just go, it all looks good to me. It all looks good to sage,
Yeah.
I would if it were me, I would do that one late season.
Okay.
When it gets a little drier, and then I'd find where the water holes are, and then I'd walk about a mile or two or three around that, and and I think you'll find some birds maybe.
Yeah.
Let's go. Well, man, I really appreciate you coming on. I think we got a lot of good stuff here. I'll go ahead and chop up the beat. It's going to be on YouTube. It'll be on all your majors. But once I've got it published, I'll ping you. And please share it with your friends and family, because I want them to see you, because you did phenomenal, really. You were an excellent guest.
Thank you.